In this section, we're going to go over MAILPIECE setup. It's all about the separation when feeding material. You want to make sure all your separators are locked into the upright position. Now we're going to set our separation for our particular MAILPIECE by placing one piece underneath the separators. You want to have this centered on the two center feed rollers. And also, to drop the separators down, loosen the thumb screw on the back side and then tighten them up once they're on the piece. Once your separation is set, place your elevator wedge up against the stack so that the second piece hits the angle on the wedge. Now we're going to bring our side guides in on either side of the stack, and you want to bring them in tight on the piece to keep your registration smooth, but not too tight so as to keep the stack from sliding down properly. Angle your material into a wedge form. You'll see this will load into the hopper much more smoothly and will also facilitate more accurate feeding. We're now ready to adjust our tab position. Make sure that the tab light is off and that your speed is turned all the way down. Then we're going to jog one piece into the paper path by turning the feed button on and off. This will allow us to position our tabs horizontally. To do this, slide the tab applicators into position manually. Once that's complete, make sure you line up your take-up spools with the tab applicators. Now to set the vertical tab position, we're going to start again with the tab off, and then we're going to activate the feeder and turn the speed up to the speed at which you're most comfortable running this particular piece. Once you establish that speed, turn the feeder off and we're ready to start applying our tabs. So let's push the tab button. You'll notice it'll light up. That means that we're active and ready to tab. You also want to check to make sure that the paper sensor is all the way in the forward position. Do this by rotating the thumb screw clockwise. Now let's hit the feed button and run a few pieces at our speed. We're going to check our position now, and it looks pretty good, but basically we're going to want to move the tab backwards on the piece so more tab is showing on the top side. In order to do that, we're going to rotate the paper sensor thumb screw counterclockwise. We're going to repeat this process a few times until we get the tab position exactly where we want it. And just do this by running pieces through one at a time. Once we get our position set, we're ready to go. Now you can see that's a nice clean fold. Now we're all set up and ready to tab. Let's start by loading up our hopper. Put your starter piece in. And then the rest of your MAILPIECEs, you're going to wedge them, stack them, and load them. Put your tab light on. Speed's already set. Hit your feed button. We're ready to go. Listen to that tabber. Now the T350 can also be set up to single tab. Let's take a look at that configuration. What we're going to do is set up the hopper to operate off of the right side or the operator side feed rollers and separator sets. We're going to take the elevation guide and move it over a couple of slots so it's centered on that feed set. Take your thumb screws, tighten it in, and you're ready to go. Setting your separation is the same, and as well as your threading of your tab. The only difference for this configuration is you're only going to use the one tab reel and setup that's on the operator side of the machine near the control panel. One of the great features of the T350 is that it can be configured for inline operation. To convert the system over for inline, start by loosening up the thumb screws holding in the material hopper. They're located on either side of the hopper on the inside wall of the machine. Now we're going to take off our elevation wedge, set that aside, save your thumb screws because we're going to need those, and then remove the hopper. Simply slide it back and out. Keep that in a safe place. Now the two components needed for inline operation are transport rollers and the inline in-feed guides. Let's take the transport rollers first and install them. You're going to take the flat side of the shaft and install it in the back side of the machine. That's away from the operator control panel. Slide it all the way in, and then on the other side you're going to click the shaft in. There's a spring-loaded mechanism inside which will hold it in place. Now take your in-feed guides and, using the same thumb screws from the elevation wedge, attach that assembly. Part of the inline setup of the T350 is that it has a built-in timed run out for the transport. What this does is it will stop the feeder and then run the transport for a few seconds afterwards to make sure any pieces that are still in the transport get tabbed and exited. In order to activate this function, a jumper setting has to be changed inside the tabber. This is a moderately technical exercise, but not too difficult. Identify jumper J7 on the main board, remove that jumper, and keep it in a safe place. Once you replace the control panel, you'll notice when you activate the feed button and then turn it off, the transport will continue to run for several seconds. This is a sophisticated touch that most tabbers in this price point don't even offer. Now let's add in our EasyFeed 120 and RS100 riser. We're going to connect our feeder interface cable to the back of the EasyFeed 120 and to the feeder interface port on the back of the T350. Now we can load up our heavier duty feeder with our material and run some pieces through. You'll see that when we hit the feed button on the tabber, it'll activate the feeder, nice and smoothly integrated. Running at high speed in line with our EasyFeed 120 and our TB390 conveyor. And again, to stop it, we just hit the feed button, feeder stops, transport runs out, and we're done. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your T350.